Hey there, welcome to rBeatz.com with local music somewhere with your host, Greazy Keyz. Today I'm here with fantastic singer-songwriter Elonzo Wesley, a.k.a. Jeremy Davis. How's it going, Jeremy? Welcome to the studio.
Doing good. Thank you for having me. Fantastic.
Well, we're so glad you'll be here to talk about yourself and your music and your background and perform some tunes for us at the end of this segment. So first off, tell us about Elonzo Wesley. Like, where'd the name come from?
So my name's Jeremy. We were talking about this off air. So I was like, let's talk about this on the podcast. My name's Jeremy, but my moniker is Elonzo Wesley. That was my dad's name. So he passed away when I was a kid. He was a drummer. Yeah. And I think one of his dreams was to, be in bands and stuff. And so when I was starting to have a band, starting to perform, I was like, that's kind of a perfect band name, because it's also spelled a little differently. Like, it's Elonzo. A lot of people spell it Alonso. So it's kind of like a little Beatles twist on it, at least in my mind. So
awesome.
I think that's kind of fun.
Cool. I love that.
Yeah.
So you've been which is one of the most consistent singer-songwriters, musician performers in Charlotte that I've known for the past, at least 10 years. It seems like you started out as just Elonzo. I remember back in the day, you had a trio that you played with, and then you sort of changed it up a little bit. I even kind of changed your format, kind of going from a rock band to more of a folk artist, I would say, and then performing not only as a solo artist as Elonzo Wesley, but then duo and even a great combo that you kind of put together. So tell us a little bit about that. Starting out as Elonzo and where you were into currently.
So originally it was just Elonzo. That was my first band, and that was, kind of going along with it being named after my dad. My sister is a keyboardist, so she was in the band, and her husband Dan originally.
Awesome. Okay.
So that was it was a family thing, and then that we kind of didn't, when we started, I didn't know anything about being a musician really, other than playing guitar and writing songs. So we did that, and then I realized like some bands aren't gonna kind of take it to the professional realm, if you will. Right. And that was a point where I changed it. I wanted to change the format of the music, because I learned a lot, and like that, the original band was more of an indie rock sound, which I loved, but I kind of wanted to do more of a singer-songwriter thing, and but I didn't want to lose the family thing with the name and everything. So my dad's name was Elonzo Wesley. His middle name is Wesley, so I see. Just added on the Wesley. But Elonzo Wesley's been more intentionally like folk, and when it's a band, it's a string band format. So we've had Mando, fiddle. Now I have a steel player playing, which is really fun.
Is that David?
Yep.
David Finch.
Yep.
Oh, he's fantastic.
Yeah,
he's really come a long way on the pedal steel, particularly.
Yeah. I met him a few years ago when he was saw him playing somewhere, and he's a super cool guy. Like, that's the thing about being in bands is I'm already a little bit going on a tangent, but just hanging out with people that are fun to hang out with.
Absolutely.
I've hung out with you at shows and stuff, and it's just like when you meet cool people, or meeting cool people is one of the biggest benefits, I think. So
100%.
Dave's definitely one of those guys where we immediately were like friends, and he's a super amazing musician. Like, I realized right away, I'm going to learn some stuff from him, just the same way with you. So,
right. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So obviously with your father as an influence there, and I love how you tied that in and kind of kept that, that flow for your family name. But who are some of your other influences musically, and your inspirations?
I think my initial kind of guitar person was Bob Dylan.
Amazing.
Just my mom, a lot of my musical taste came directly from my mom, just kind of being like, this is the stuff that, when I got old enough to kind of be interested in music, and I started kind of trying to find it myself, she was like, okay, well, check this out. And so when I first heard, I had heard Bob Dylan on the radio or whatever, but she gave me an album, and she's like, listen to this, and then just blew my mind immediately. And it was right when I was starting to play guitar. So it was literally just at the same, like within like a week span, you know. So that was a big initial inspiration, and just thinking of like hearing his music in a way that's like, when you hear pop music, sometimes you know, you bob your head and it's like fun, but it doesn't have always like the same like tonality, or like people say vibe a lot.
Yeah,
so like
sure,
the
absolutely.
vibe is different, right?
Vibe
It's
is
still
different.
entertaining, but there's like, you're like, what's happening here? And then it kind of made me be interested more in songwriters, and sort of that element of like, who's the person that's making this song, not just the sound of the music, but the writing of it.
The writing of the song, right.
So definitely, Dylan, and then Paul Simon was big. Some of his solo albums. I mean, my mom was really into Simon and Garfunkel, so I went from there to Paul Simon, and like Still Crazy After All These Years, one of my favorite songs of all time.
You just gave me chills, because that's the one record that comes to mind for me as well. It's just so fantastic.
Yeah. Willie Nelson too, like I kind of forget about him sometimes, but it was, you know, back then growing up, like I think we were like roughly the same age. There was no streaming music, so like whatever music happened to be like laying around on a physical format, like a cassette tape or a record, that's what you listen to, unless you listen to the radio, which I did. But then when I started wanting to find things and being inspired by things, it was what was laying around, and there was a Willie Nelson cassette that was, I don't remember what the actual record was. It was like a greatest hits
Probably
type
say
thing.
greatest hits.
It wasn't like Redheaded Stranger or whatever, but that stuff blew my mind too. And it made me more interested in, because I was already kind of picking up on like singer-songwriters, and there was just like this connection to the like authenticness of it, the authenticality. Is that a word?
Yeah, we'll take it.
The authenticity. Thank you. Wow. It's that was tough. But yeah, just the way he played guitar and the sort of rawness of it was really super inspiring. And then also just as a songwriter, he's like written some of the most amazing songs that exist, you know.
So I want to go back to the Bob Dylan record. So he is obviously one of the most proficient songwriters of our era.
Yeah.
What record was it though? Do you remember which exact?
I think that was also a greatest hits, because I remember specifically, like we went to a place that was like a record store, but we bought CDs. But she was getting, my mom had just this one day she bought like a bunch of stuff at the same time, and she got the greatest hits, and it starts with like a Rolling Stone, and it's the one with it's like a silhouette photo of him where he's like on stage. It's like a picture you've probably seen like 1,000 times,
right?
So it was one of those, but I mean, I have other favorite ones after that, but that was the one. It just had, you know, I mean, the first thing is like a Rolling Stone, and I had never really listened to that. And so she was like, okay, no, really, like sit down and listen to this. And then she hit play, and it's just like, I had never really experienced music that way.
I love that. That's a great story.
Yeah.
So with your transition to like indie rock to folk, I mean, what is it about folk music that resonates with you? Like that really connects and makes you want to continue that legacy, really?
Yeah. I mean, I think the authenticity of it, or just my like desire to be authentic. I don't know that I always get there, but like, because there's a whole conversation around recording technology and how records are made and stuff like that.
Oh, absolutely.
But I think a lot of the music that I was inspired by was just kind of leaning that way. And then when I got into a band, you know, we just sort of went into more of the rock sound, just naturally playing together. But I wanted to, there was a certain point where I was like, I feel like some of the songs I'm writing are supposed to be more, the music wasn't always matching the vibe that I was hearing when I was writing it.
Right. Right.
But that's also just the way that a band will interpret a song too. You know what I mean?
Always, you got
that's
those
what
other
makes
personalities kind of interject into the song. Yeah, that's what makes the song unique.
I think, but that was always something. That was definitely something I wanted to do more intentionally, because I just think that was kind of always my my thought. But it's just as I got more experience, I was able to be more intentional, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's amazing. It's been really cool because, again, you've been one of the most consistent musicians in the Charlotte music scene for the past 10 years.
Thanks, man.
And you're busy.
Yeah.
It seems like you're really consistently busy, whether you're playing solo or again with duo or whatever kind of combo you can put together. Have you seen with seems to be a big surge, maybe not with the mainstream, but with a large, a big swath of the music with Billy Strings or Sierra Farrell, kind of coming up with the folk / bluegrass. Have you seen any of that sort of trickle down to our level of folk music and audience, interaction and attendance?
I think so, yeah. There are definitely people that, especially when you have a string band.
Yeah.
So we live in the birthplace of bluegrass, sort of.
Yeah.
And just in this region. And
yes.
I would say that especially when I'm in the string band format, it's bluegrass adjacent. It's not.
You're right.
Bluegrass.
Exactly.
We're
right.
not playing, Bill Monroe tunes.
No.
But it's similar, and I think that definitely spills over. And I think there's people that are really interested in just that kind of music for different reasons.
Yeah.
To me, it's just one of the coolest sounds. I remember seeing Dave Rawlings' Machine.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Similar in that they're not bluegrass, but they're playing as a string band, and it's just something about that energy that is unique.
Yeah.
But
speaking on that band, you were at the neighborhood theater show when they came a few years back with John Paul Jones on mandolin?
No.
Oh my gosh.
No, my God.
That was amazing.
I saw Dave and Gillian play just
yes.
as a duo.
Yeah.
But man,
just that alone is amazing. But yeah, a few years back, neighborhood theater, they had Dave Rawlings' Machine with John Paul Jones on mandolin all night long.
I've seen some videos of them going to California.
Oh man.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Very cool.
But no, I think there's definitely been a resurgence of that, and just it's always there, but it's more mainstream popular for whatever reason right now.
Right.
But I think people there's something that's different about that versus when you watch a pop musician even Taylor Swift.
Yes.
Who when they're performing, it's this you're not always I know she has a band, and I'm actually a Taylor Swift fan, so I'm not saying anything negative. It's
right.
just the vibe of the live element of it is
yes.
different than seeing a string band play with acoustic instruments. Even if they're plugged in, it's still just not. It's a different way of performing, I think. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Love it. So I was going to say, how do you balance those elements, those traditional folk elements, with your unique style and your voice? What's your approach that way?
I think that it's actually a little bit in flux right now because, before COVID, it was very much the band scenario for me, at least, was a little different than it is now. But also I had things in my mind that I want to try, playing with the percussionists, which we've been doing some, playing with pedal steel, which we talked about. So that's just in a little bit of a growth phase of let's figure out how this music sounds as a group of people, and then especially moving it to recording, which is I'm working on right now. We just released a song that has those elements on it, but that was mostly done by me in the studio, so we haven't really gone with this format into the studio yet. So
with drums, you saying, or percussion? Is it
mostly hand percussion?
Interesting. Who's playing that for you?
My brother-in-law Dan is back
fantastic.
in. Yeah. And then there's one song there's some stuff that I recorded during quarantine that never came out that I'm still kind of thinking about putting out, and that has just some of that has a drum kit on it.
So, love that.
Yeah.
So, what role does storytelling or role playing take in your music, when you're songwriting? Do you mainly write songs from your own perspective? Do you like to try to use other people's perspectives, or do you like to tell stories? What's your approach when it comes to songwriting like that?
I do kind of a little bit of all of it, I would say. There's one song that we have called Regular Guy, and that's definitely a character. I'm not talking in the first person, I'm being somebody else in the song, and kind of imagining them as being this I'm kind of making fun of them in the song, but I'm taking on their persona. And then there's other songs where I'm taking part of my life experience and usually like kind of embellishing some of the details to hopefully tell a better story or tell an engaging story. But where it still has like the truth to it that I like relate to as my having been my own experience. And I feel like that hopefully translates when I sing it.
Yeah.
That would be the goal. So
I love that. So Charlotte, not necessarily known as a music town, but again, I see you as being one of our consistent, torchbearers in the musical community. So what are some challenges that you personally have faced in your career, and how have you overcome them, in a town where, we may not always get the recognition that we deserve as singer-songwriters and musicians?
Yeah. I think some of the challenge has been for me just connecting with people that are in the music industry because like my goal has always been to grow and, do it as much as I can within reason, and which I've done. But yeah, sometimes connecting with people that are more in the industry is a little bit tougher because there's just not as many people here.
It's true.
So they don't have as much time for you.
Right.
Or it's time for me because I'm not as, they're just, if you go to Nashville and hang out at a bar, like you'll talk to someone who probably works as a talent buyer or, everyone's doing something. But I have been lucky enough to meet some of those people, like Taylor Winchester is somebody that he was in the band and still plays, but like he also works professionally in the music business in different areas, honestly. Mm-hmm. But so, and that's one thing I'll say that's really cool about Charlotte is, there's not as many people, but everyone kind of knows everyone.
It's true.
If you're in the music scene, and so like eventually I met Taylor, and then I met Micah, who does Midwood Entertainment, and
Micah Davidson,
Davidson, and like the guys from Codex, and just different. It just kind of starts like spreading out. But I would say that's like still. There's now Rick's doing the Confluence thing. I know he was on here. Mm-hmm. So that's like another element of people like him trying to bring in more music folks that can help from that side, because I feel like the biggest challenge for no matter where you're at in your like journey is continuing to grow and do more what you want to do, and you know what I mean. So I think people like Rick are really important, and there hasn't been as many of those people in the past necessarily. So
it's exciting to see elements like that come back into Charlotte. Let's see, when I first moved to Charlotte, like in the late 90s, we had like, several big concerts, outdoor concerts that would have major bands and local bands be a part of. Obviously a lot more independent listening rooms, venues to play at, but it's kind of, receded, but now to have Confluence and like Music Everywhere kind of regenerate those same elements, I think it's been really awesome. And I think I want to say that again, I just love that you've been so prolific and consistent, and your musical integrity has maintained, for the past 10 plus years as what you do. And so hats off to that, because, I know a lot of musicians who, have to end up playing in the wedding band or playing cover band, and you seem to be really consistent with staying in your original music lane and being successful in that. So tell us about that. What was your, what's your approach to that and booking yourself and being consistent to what you want to perform?
I think it's in the way that you approach it, in the places you kind of go after where you're trying to perform. I definitely sort of do a blend of like venues and working gigs, but I look at it as like, I'm going to play, like I have music that I've like a set of music that I've created that I can play for a number of hours. Right. And like, I don't really get into the conversation I try not to get into the conversation of like, what exactly am I going to play? Like, I just say like, here's my music. Here's what it sounds like. If you think I'm a good fit,
right,
I'd love to perform here. And I think that's really key. I think that like specifically to my music, I'm not like high energy or like super upbeat. Like the music can be upbeat and can be high energy, but like sometimes those are like words that you hear people saying that are booking things sometimes. Yeah. And I learned just, okay, that's not for me. That's not the place that I should pursue. It's going to be like kind of a frustrating experience for me and the person who's hiring me.
Right.
So I think the really important thing is, in my like a big part of my strategy is just like connecting with the places that are looking for what I do. Because there's all those places out there.
Right.
And, you know, I will say like being a singer-songwriter and having a string band, those are like kind of flexible in the kinds of spaces you can play.
It's brilliant though.
So
it's a brilliant approach.
That helps.
Yeah.
But so I think, when you're creating your sound and you're working on that, that's something you can think about is how does this translate in a small space? How does this translate on a big stage? Like, what do I do? What are the things I can do to like kind of be able to do all of those things and be really busy? Cause like, if you're an independent musician and you know this, like I respect you so much, just the amount of things that you do and like the way the quality and everything is like, you're such a good performer and player and you're just like crushing it. And, but yeah, like you have to kind of be ready to do, you have to be able and flexible and again, just like finding those places that are like, yeah, man, I really dig what you do. And like, cause when the people are saying that are paying you, like that's a good feeling. That's the goal.
That's
so like,
the goal.
It's not like, I've definitely been at places where I can just tell they're just like, man, this is not what I want. And I'm like, that's fine. Let's not do this again.
Right. This is get it over with.
No hard feelings.
Right. Move it
on.
Like
it's fine.
Right. Well, man,
yeah.
This has been a great conversation. We have just a couple minutes left before we get into our live performance segment. But so do you have any words of wisdom for maybe any aspiring young folk singer-songwriters or indie rockers who might be tuning in and listening to our interview today?
Words of wisdom.
Yeah.
Just keep going. Just keep going.
Right.
That's really it. Like the longer you do something, the better you'll be at it. And hopefully you're like having fun at it. I think that's, if you're miserable, maybe don't keep going.
That's right. See, Ian, talking about my career, my hands are in a lot of pots.
Yeah.
But yeah, like cover music is one. But as I say this to everybody, is if everyone wants to hear Brown Eyed Girl, I love playing Brown Eyed Girl. If no one wants to hear it, I hate playing it. So
yeah, I mean,
I can relate to that.
Yeah,
it's about that connection with folks.
I will say for me too, like I'm super happy to do it. Like, I love it, and there's whether it's like the best gig in the world or the worst gig in the world, ultimately I'm still just like, this is awesome.
Right.
So yeah.
So last question here. What impact do you hope that your music has on listeners?
I hope it just helps them engage in their own lives in a way that is positive. You know, I mean, that's it. And maybe they feel a connection to something bigger than themselves, whatever that is.
Right. And listening to your music myself, there's no doubt in my mind that you've made that impact on a person or lots of people out there.
Thanks, man.
So thanks, Jeremy, for coming in and sharing your gift with us, and look forward to hearing some music from you here in just a moment. All right, we're going to take a short
I'm Annalise, host of What's Trending Now on rBeatz.com, bringing you this week's DJ World Beats hottest trending bangers on rBeatz Radio and Media Streaming Network. Let's get right into it. This week, the Fillmore is hosting Electric Fields, an indie rock and dance party. You can catch it June 29th, doors open at 9:30 p.m. Tickets are on sale on the website, prices range from $15 to $20. Coming up next month, Grindhouse is hosting Lyrical Lab, a songwriting camp from July 8th to the 12th, doors open at 6 p.m. You can sign up at grindhousestudios.com. Coming July 2nd, another Tosca music night, doors open at 6 p.m., located at the Evening Muse. Spinning now on rBeatz Radio, our house and EDM stream, DJ World Beats brings you Jamie XX with Treat Each Other Right. And flashing on the scene, we have Steve Aoki and Bassjackers with their song Flashing Lights and Voices in My Head featuring Teddy B. Moving on to the Vessel Radio, this week's hits are Keep Going by Nassim Black and Somebody's Child by Dolly Parton and Blessing Offer. Thanks, Dolly, for blessing us with new music. And last on the Vessel Radio is a song called Psalm 100 by Moshe Peretz, Barry Sakharov, and Yavin Ben Misa. Trending now on We Global Radio, we have two new tracks from Shaggy, Move featuring Lavina, and Gial Demtime featuring TJ Jack. And lastly, from Bia and Jid, we have Lights Out. Changing up the pace, streaming now on our country station, USA Heroes Radio, is Dax with his song, A Real Man. Finally, our global pop stream, 25/8 366 global radio hit, Shameless by Benjamin Alger. That concludes this week's countdown. Be sure to check back for what's trending on the local, national, and international music scene right here at rbeatz.com.
Welcome back to Local Music Somewhere. I'm here with Elonzo Wesley. We're going to have Elonzo play some songs for us, but before we go into that, we have some super speed questions we want to ask you about your music, Jeremy.
Go for it.
Question number 1. Tell us about your favorite performance to date.
Well, this was years ago, but opening for Shovels and a Rope.
Oh, fantastic. Where was that?
Visualite.
At the Visualite Theater.
Wow. They played Dave Letterman for the first time, right after, pretty shortly after that. So that was pretty cool.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Question number 2. Your dream venue. Where is it?
Probably somewhere on the Mediterranean. I don't know yet. I haven't found it yet. I think it's out there.
I got to say, I saw you're playing Bald Head Island coming up a lot this summer. Have you played there yet?
Not yet.
Oh, man. It is a great spot.
Yeah, I'm looking for it.
It's a pain to get there, but once you're there, it's one of my favorite beach going experiences of North Carolina. So
I just played at Beach Mountain. That was really cool.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 3. Would you rather have an amazing vocal range or be able to play every instrument?
I would say vocal range.
Really?
Yeah. I love singing, even though I always wish I was a better singer, but I love it. And I'm one of those people, if you live with me, you're I hate you because you never stop singing. You're always singing in the middle of the night.
I could totally imagine you singing like Mariah Carey level.
Yeah. No, stuff. I definitely would. I would go with that.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right. One more question here. Would you rather sign a 6-album record deal or be a music influencer with millions of followers on social media?
Easily influencer.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in this day and age, that's where the money's at.
It's true. I mean, record deals these days are not the deals of the past.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's great. Well, thank you for taking time to answer those questions, and let's get into some live music with Elonzo Wesley.
All right, this is a song called Rule of 7. I think I'm mostly into. Have I done the damage? Damage is done, my friend. Scars that we make are the scars that we live with. 7 reasons, keep the wheels straight and go home. 700 more, turn around, go home. But it's alright, good night. Alright, good night. Julie, she's so worried, says she's lonely all the time. Spent 7 years lives in a prison of her own device. 17 left home all alone, 700 miles to the Carolina coast, but it's alright, good night. Alright, good night. Alright, good night, my friend. Spend my life driving while other people sleep through the night. Something about the moon checkering through the pine. Seen 7 serpents, call each one by name. Seen 700 angels on the morning train, but it's alright, good night. Alright, good night. Alright, good night, my friends. There are things I cannot believe. I deny with a guilty plea. 7 ways to grieve, 7 ways to be free. I've accepted my fate as it seems. Alright, good night. Alright, good night. Alright, good night, my friend. Well, we're waiting in the water. Water's weighing on my mind. Julie, if we leave right now, we got 7 hours time. 700 miles, we could be anywhere. 700 more, we'll know when we get there. But it's alright, good night. Alright, good night. Alright, good night, my friend.
Fantastic, fantastic. You're tuned because you care. That's good.
All right, yeah, this is an unreleased song, so.
Oh, look, rBeatz exclusive. I love it.
That's one that I've been working on called Ohio Nights. Call me when you're worried about your life. Call me when it feels too much to hide. Love is a vessel and a road sign. Just don't forget about Ohio nights. sun goes down. When the words all fail in a banker's town. Life is a science, love is a ride. Just don't forget about Ohio nights. We got lost in the hills, somewhere between the Virginia line, oh, the Pittsburgh steel. Nothing's for certain, Lord, I don't want to fight. Just don't forget about Ohio nights. Call me when your last lover leaves. Call me when my voice is on the breeze. Love is a vessel and a road sign. Just don't forget about Ohio nights. We got lost in the hills, somewhere between the Virginia line, or the Pittsburgh steel. Nothing's for certain, Lord, I don't want to fight. Just don't forget about Ohio nights. Love is a vessel and a road sign. Just don't forget about Ohio nights.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Elonzo Wesley, for coming in the studio today to perform and to talk with us about his music, aka Jeremy Davis. Thank you, Jeremy, for being here, and
Thank you.
look forward to seeing you out on the road.
Cheers, man.